Hello. So today is podcast recording day, and I've only just finished recording a podcast episode, which I'm going to be really excited to be bringing you. That one is with Mandy Legg, and it is all about mental health, um, and her mental health journey. So it's from her lived experience. She's a motivational speaker. That's a very compelling episode. And I think it's one that's really important to put out, given we are or appear to be living through some very stressful times. There are a lot of people struggling, suffering, um, a lot of stressors of varying kinds. So that will be a really important one to put out when it comes, possibly in October. The second podcast episode, unfortunately, was going to be recorded later today, and we're not able to record that one today. And so it's kind of freed me up a little bit. And I thought I would just hop on and have a little riff. And by that, I mean, so I'm not scripted, not that I ever am. I just have a few notes down here, um, because I thought I would come on and talk about self-leadership because I feel that that is the theme that runs into pretty much nearly all of these conversations. It's the backdrop to everything, as far as I'm concerned, the backdrop to life. And when I say self-leadership, I mean, when we hear the word leadership, we tend to always think in terms of leading others. But before we lead others, we ought to be leading ourselves effectively. And self-leadership it just sounds like a word, but it's not the easiest thing. Living in a way that aligns with your values, that aligns with the way you see the world and the things you want for yourself that may not be what society generally wants for itself. Um, there's a lot of conditioning that we have. So how do you know what are your true wants and what you've adopted from conditioning and societal values? So part of it is really getting to know who you are, who you truly are, mastering yourself, who you are, what your needs are, what you want. Um, that's part of it, what your value systems are, and how you can start to make decisions and live in accordance with those values. Um, so that's not easy. And the other part to it is also trusting, the faith element to it, trusting in life, but also starting to follow your intuition, which I've been trying to do more and more. So, and it might be that your intuition, you may think, why am I getting this feeling about something? Um, and it doesn't necessarily lead you anywhere. So, for instance, the podcast episode that I was going to record this afternoon, I did have a feeling that it might not happen. I don't know why. I just had this feeling that it might not happen and it's had to be cancelled. Now, that's some sort of intuitive sense telling me that, but I don't quite know why. It might be because I needed to come on and just have this riff and talk about self-leadership and just do something on my own for a moment. It might be the energy's not right to have that conversation just yet. It could be a myriad of things. So instead of being unhappy, disappointed, um, annoyed, all of those sorts of things, it's more I've just tried to stay open. Okay, there's a reason why the energy is not right for that to happen today. Let's try something else. And maybe it will be a better time for it to happen in future. So it's all around trusting in life, trusting in yourself, learning yourself and your responses, understanding when you're triggered and what to do when you're triggered, when you're just reacting and when you're responding. And this is why I focus in this area for my coaching. I just find this to, one, be a fascinating area, but two, for me, self-mastery and self-leadership is the foundation that will stop you from getting lost in things and losing yourself and spending years going in a direction that really doesn't align with who you are. And there's actually another part to it, which I've been beginning to think about a lot more as I've spoken to so many of these guests that I've had on and their experiences. And maybe sometimes we are meant to go off of our path. So the conversation I was having with Tucci in the podcast episode that's out right now talked about um, her being in her masculine and being very driven and ending up having to getting ill basically as a result of it. And just that being the catalyst for her to go in a different direction in life and to actually follow the true path that she wanted to be on. And so it may mean we had a very short conversation around maybe we are sometimes supposed to go off of our path in order for us to learn what we need to learn or to become who we need to become to go in the direction we want to go in or our soul wants to go in, which we may not have gone in had we not had that pattern interrupt or that cathartic experience that caused us to think maybe in a different way. So it's almost about knowing who you are, knowing what you need, what your wants are, looking after yourself, following your values, being open to your intuition, being open to what life has to teach you and being curious about it. And to me, that's what encompasses good self-leadership. And that's what's important for us to lead ourselves effectively and to have an enjoyable, not less challenging because the challenges will come, but to have a fruitful, contented life. I guess once you're in a place where you are effectively leading you, doesn't mean you can't be a leader because there are lots of people who don't effectively lead themselves who are leaders, but you will become a much better leader of others when you lead yourself effectively. So so there's the episode that's out at the moment with Tucci that's on all sorts of different topics. And the next episode that I'm releasing after that will be about self-leadership, but from the self perspective, not the leading others perspective. And I think it will be good for that to go out in September when we are all back to work, back to school, back to the grind. How are we recalibrating ourselves for forward motion? So that will be good. And then the episode with Mandy Legg will come out maybe after that one. So some great things in the pipeline. In the meantime, please do start to get curious about why you react the way you do to certain things, get curious about why do I want this thing? All sorts of ways that you can start to now think about your own self-mastery and your own self-leadership. And if you would like, you can also contact me for a springboard coaching session to get you on that journey. So you can look at my website for that, or drop me a comment or a message, and we can look into doing that. But yes, self-leadership is my thing. And the reasons I've given you, it's my thing. So have a great rest of today is Bank Holiday Monday in the UK, so have a great rest of the day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.